Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the International Webinar Series on Holistic Health, Well-being and Sustainable Development 2022-2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns, and also commemorating India's G20 presidency in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Arts, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our session, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. Today, we are commemorating World Autism Awareness Day. With the theme Transformation Towards a Neuro-Inclusive World for All. In recent years, major progress has been made in increasing awareness and acceptance of autism, not least thanks to the many amazing autistic advocates who have worked tirelessly to bring the lived experience of autistic people to wider world. Additionally, medical professionals, researchers, and academicians in many countries are now incorporating the neurodiversity paradigm coined by sociologist Judy Singer in the late 1990s in their work. So transforming the narrative, contributions at home, at work, in the arts, and in policy making. As we are moving away from the narrative of curing or converting autistic people, and instead focusing on accepting, supporting, and including autistic people and advocating for their rights. This is major transformation for all autistic people, their allies, the wider neurodiversity community, and the world at large. It enables autistic people to claim their diversity and self-esteem and to become fully integrated as valued members of their families and societies. It also makes it possible to focus attention on the contributions that autistic people make to the world at this year's World Autistic Awareness Day. Observance will do on focusing in particular on their contributions in the home, at the work, in the arts, and in policy making. So autistic people do nevertheless still face discrimination and other challenges. As with all popular autistic people have a wide range of talents and challenges that are often recognized by the world they are born into. In addition, the levels of awareness and acceptance vary dramatically from country to country. We must also recognize that autistic people are especially vulnerable to the major upheavals to routines and daily lives that they witness all around us, such as pandemics, wars, and natural disasters. So, as every year it is observed, and this year also it is observed on 2nd April. So, today, Sunday. The 2023 Autism Awareness, World Autism Awareness Day or World Autism Acceptance Day is organized by the United Nations Department of Global Communications and Department of Economic and Social Affairs in collaboration with the Institute of Neurodiversity, ION, in short, an organization established and run by neurodivergent people and allies. ION is based in Switzerland and currently has a presence in 14 countries. ION is working to help create a world where neurodivergent individuals feel accepted, represented, included, empowered, and heard. The event is co-sponsored by Permanent Mission of Poland to the United Nations, with support provided by Group for Autism, Insurance, Investment, and Neurodiversity, in short known as GAIN. In Seoul, South Korea, an art exhibition was held at the Seoul Art Center, where 43 artists with developmental disabilities participated in the exhibition of over 100 different paintings. Among them were artists Hansel Kim and Shinle Park. We go behind the scenes to follow them in their daily lives and see they are ultimately no different from the rest of humanity, and that overcoming inequalities they face will benefit all of society. Let's watch a short video.
장애인은 우선은 사실 무언가를 잘 못한다. 그리고 일반 사회에서는 또 경제적인 효용성, 장애인을 포함시키려면 돈이 많이 들어 라고 하는 이런 편견들이 있죠. 장애라고 하는 디서빌리티는 사실 각각의 장애인이 내 등에 짊어지고 다니는 게 아니라는 거죠. 근데 그게 가지고 있는 것으로서 자동으로 장애가 발생되는 게 아니라 사실은 내가 가지고 있는 그런 결함들이 나를 둘러싸고 있는 사회적 환경 또는 사람들의 태도 이런 것과 부딪혀서 이제 상호작용을 할 때 그때 이제 장애가 된다는 거죠. 그들을 disabled 하게 만드는 거는 그들 자신이 아니라 우리 사회다라고 하는 거. 그러다 보면 이제 우리 동시대를 살고 있는 우리 개개인의 어떤 책무성 이런 것들이 좀 느껴질 거라고 생각합니다.
마음도 굉장히 예쁘고 부드럽고 정확하고 사랑이 되게 많은 친구인 것 같아요. 근데 이제 대부분 자폐 친구들 갖고 있는 강박이라는 불안 때문에 겪는 어떤 도전적인 행동이 이제 오해를 일으킬 뿐이지 한솔이 자체로서는 정확하고 사랑 많고 늘 나눌 준비가 되어 있는 친구 같아요. 오늘 엄마 가요. 앞에 늘 한 번씩 하는 거를 하루 아니면 하루 반 만에 다 소진을 했거든요. 어떤 분들은 너무 그 그림 좋다고 하시는 거예요. 저는 너무 싫은 거예요. 왜냐하면 무슨 그림을 그리고 나서 자기 감정에 쑥 들어갔다가 거기서 막 헤매는 느낌을 받아서 그 한소리로서는 너무나 큰 자폐에 있는 것 같아서 제가 그걸 빼내느라고 그림을 못 그리게 했었어요. 청소년기에는 이제 그리게 했고 어렸을 때 그런 상처 때문에 굉장히 예쁜 색을 다 칠해놓고도 그 위에다 검정색으로 다 뒤덮었어요. 근데 그림은 성장인 것 같아요. 그 아들의 그림, 어릴 때 그림을 쭉 보면은 이게 성장이고 심리적인 변화구를 볼 수가 있었던 것 같아요. 그래서 어렸을 때는 예쁘게 칠했다가 새까만 색으로 다 엎었다가 그 새까만 색이 없어지고 예쁜 색이 남아있다가 나중에는 선으로 또 자기 마음을 표현을 하고 점으로 표현하고 그렇게 그림 성장을 하는 것을 보게 되었습니다.
어릴 때 그 두돌 그때는 장애라는 생각은 아직 안 들었었고 겉으로 보이는 것은 하나도 뭐가 나타나는 게 없었으니까. 그런데 이제 굉장히 인지가 떨어지고 많이 산만하고 언어가 일단 되지가 않고 이제 그래서 이제 이것저것 검사하면서 나중에 이제 심한 학습 장애를 가진 지적 장애죠. 이제 그렇게 제가 이제 판정을 받았는데 그 원주에서 한 10년 살면서 굉장히 변로산으로 많이 뛰어다니면서 놀고 그래서 지금 그리는 것도 주로 다 그런 자연을 많이 그리는 게 그런 이유에서 그런 것 같아요. 굉장히 활발하고 명랑하고 사랑스러운 딸입니다. 혜신이가 정말 감성이 풍부하다는 걸 제가 알았어요. 그렇게 감성이 풍부한 아이니까 막 흥분해가지고 막 무슨 말 하고 싶어서 막 뛰어와서 뭐라고 하는데 못 알아듣겠으니까 뭐라고? 그러면은 또 한 번 말할 때 그러면 그 다음에는 그냥 아니야 그러면서 이렇게 시무룩해서 가고. 그러니까 제가 그걸 볼 때마다 마음이 너무 슬퍼서 얘가 갖고 있는 이런 막 그 흥분되고 격한 그 뭘 봤을 때 기쁘고 막 이런 것들을 얘기하고 싶은 걸 말로는 안 되는구나. 엄마조차도 그걸 못 알아듣는구나. 네가 그러면 그림으로 한번 네 마음을 표현해봐라. 그러면서 이렇게 그냥 그림을 그리게 해준 거지. 무슨 뭐 화가가 되려고 그런 생각도 해본 적도 없고 그래서 하기 시작했는데 조금씩 우리 발달장애 아이들 몇 명이 그룹으로 선생님한테 이렇게 지도를 받았는데 그 선생님이 그러시더라고. 하시면은 얘한테 참 독특한 게 있어요. 혜신이는 자기 속에 그리고 싶은 것들이 있구나. 이게 안 나와서 그렇지. 그러니까 그런 욕구가 강하다는 거를 선생님들이 먼저 알아보시더라고요. 그래서 그냥 조금씩 이렇게 해주다가 고등학교 때는 진짜 갈 데가 없죠. 그런데 고등학교 입시미술학원에 선생님께 부탁을 했어요. 특별히 가까이 학원에서 그냥 뭘 그릴지 몰라도 한번 데리고 있어봐 달라고. 몇 개월이 지나서 알았어요. 혜신이가 이렇게 꽃과 나무와 이런 자연을 너무너무 그리고 싶어 한다는 거를 어떤 기회를 통해서 알아서 그때부터 혜신이가 이제 쫙쫙쫙 그림을 그리기 시작해가지고 선생님이 이제 눈여겨보셨어요. 그래서 고등학교 졸업하면서 바로 전시를 해준 거예요.
WHO가 2011년도에 월드 리포트를 발간을 했어요. 근데 거기에서 밝히기를 전 세계 15%의 인구, 즉 10억 명 정도가 장애인이라는 겁니다. 근데 그 수치는 우리 7명 중에 1명이 장애인인 거예요. 그럼 제 주변에 7분 중에 1명이 장애인이어야 되잖아요. 제가 학교 다닐 때 그럼 우리 교실에서 그 많은 비율의 장애 친구들이 있었는지, 또는 내가 일하는 일터에 우리 골목에, 내가 사는 우리 집에 우리 골목에 7명 중 1명의 장애인이 있는지 없잖아요. 지금 수십 년이, 20년이 더 흘렀는데도 지금도 그런 비율로 없거든요. 그렇다면은 우리의 다수가 살기 조금 더 편하고 이런 뭐랄까요, 경제 효용적인 사회를 위해서 따로 이렇게 잘 배치를 한 거잖아요. 그래서 프로텍션을 하면서 다른 비장애인들이 누릴 수 있는 그 여러 일상 속의 다양한 기회들이 있잖아요. 근데 이것까지 이제 송두리째 앗아가 버리는 거라고 저는 생각을 해요.
In the Asia Pacific region, there are about 470 million people who are of working age, and data shows that disproportionately persons with disabilities have difficulties finding decent work, and this leads to increased rates of poverty among persons with disabilities. And we have found throughout history social exclusion and social injustices and inequality, they all lead to conflict and social discourse. So in order to prevent conflict, it is absolutely critical to make sure that everybody is included in these efforts to build a harmonious and just society.
제 개인적인 견해일 수도 있겠습니다만은 장애는 벽이 될 수는 예술에서는 없다고 생각합니다. 장애에 대한 그 편견은 학습이나 경험에 의해서 생긴다고 생각을 했어요. 인간 본성이 편견이 있다라고 말하는 사람도 있습니다만은 학습이나 경험에 의해서 편견이 생겼다면 좋은 경험과 학습으로 편견을 줄이거나 없앨 수 있다라고 생각을 했었고, 장애인들은 항상 뭔가 은혜를 받는 존재, 우리는 베푸는 그 존재라는 게 사실은 쉐어가 아니라 디바이드라는 개념이 강해서 그런 거를 깨고자 이번 전시를 마련했습니다. 이번 전시는 그 아셉 2020에 이어서 그 두 번째에 해당하는 그 발달장애 아티스트 특별 초대전입니다. 국내 작가들 그 43명의 100여 점의 작품으로 진행을 하게 된 그런 전시입니다. 예술의 전당은 저희 나라에서는 그 가장 큰 전시장으로서 그 보통 그 일반 작가들도 이쪽에서 전시를 한번 하는 걸 큰 영광으로 이렇게 생각을 합니다. 상업 전시에 이번에 틀을 마련을 해서 무조건 기회만 주는 게 아니라 제대로 된 좋은 기회. 그러면 사람이 이렇게 작품을 보는 눈도 달라지거든요. 그 장애인들에 대한 전시는 그냥 와서 봐주는 거, 시간 되면 가서 볼게, 공짜 티켓 줘, 이런 개념들이 컸습니다만은 당당하게 이 친구들은 자기들의 상상력을 수많은 시간의 땀과 열정으로 이렇게 우리들 앞에 선물을 준 거기 때문에 사실은 이거는 저희들이 정당한 비용을 지불을 하고 그 상업 전시로서의 자리매김을 해야 돼요. 그래야 이 친구들도 언젠가는 재정적으로 독립을 할 수가 있고 사회에서 저 친구들은 평생 우리가 경제적으로 도움을 줘야 돼. 이런 느낌이 강하잖아요. 그래서 그런 것들을 깨는 게 이번 중요한 목적 중에 하나입니다.
비장애 작가들의 작품들보다 더 상상력이 뛰어나다고 느꼈습니다. 네.
너무 멋진데?
주셔가지고
감사합니다. 너무 멋져요.
작가님과 같이 사진 찍어서 되게 기분이 좋았는데요.
우리 이제 비장애인, 우리 사회에서 그분들을 충분히 받아들여줄 그 마음이 되어 있고 어떤 그 조건이 되어 있을 때 이분들의 재능이 사회에 기여될 수 있는 그런 기회를 줄 수 있지 않나. 그럼 그게 비장애인들에게도 도움이 될 수 있는 그런 장이 있을 거라고 분명히 생각하고요. 더 많은 이런 기회가 있었으면 참 좋겠다고 생각이 듭니다.
네, 사실 세상은 이미 본래적으로 다양하다고 생각합니다. 그런데 그 다양한 주체들이 그냥 있는 그대로 다양하게 참여하게 되면 그것이 다양성 있는 사회가 되는데 인클루전이라는 게 사실 어디에 내가 속하는 거잖아요. 그래서 이런 참여의 기회가 계속 보장이 된다면 자연스럽게 그 구성원이 다양해지는 거고, 그렇다면 그 구성원들을 위한 어떤 정책을 만들거나 제도를 만들거나 서비스를 만들거나 할 때도 자연스럽게 이제 그 다양한 목소리가 이제 들어갈 거라고 생각이 돼서 허들에 걸려서 못 넘어왔던 장벽이 없어지고 이제 자연스러운 이제 참여가 일어나게 된다면 저는 우리 사회가 조금 더 포용적이고 그렇다면 이제 다양한 목소리들을 내게 되는 그런 사회로 갈 거라고 생각을 합니다.
우리 모두가 조금 더 오픈해서 비껴주고 이해해주고 좀 참아주면은 더불어서 함께 잘 살 수 있다고 생각이 들어요.
이 사람들이 겉으로 보이는 모습과 보이지 않는 이 사람들의 내면의 생각들, 마음들이 세상을 보는 눈이 이렇게 찬란하고 이렇게 다정하고 이렇게 재미나고 벽이 없구나. 저는 개인적으로 회신하고 살면서 인생에 정말 뭐가 본질일까, 뭐가 정말 중요한 걸까라는 거를 매번 생각하게 되거든요. 효율적인 것으로 너네들은 보여줄 테니까 여기 있어, 우리끼리 갈게, 이렇게 하는 것은 실적이 좋아져서 좋을 수 있지만 과연 그것이 질 높은 삶인지는 생각해 봐야지 되는 거죠.
이 장애 문제는 각 가정에서 해결할 수 있는 문제가 아니에요. 같이 가야 돼. 사회가 같이 가지고 그리고 이웃이 같이 가지고 더불어서 살아야 된다고 생각을 하는데, 공평한 건 뭐냐면 우리에게 없는 게 그들에게 있어요. 그들에게 없는 게 우리에게 있잖아요. 그거 사실은 교환하면 된다고 생각해요. 우리가 가지고 있는 건강함을 나누고 그들이 가지고 있는 다름을 우리가 받고 이러면 정말 멋진 세상이 될 것 같아요.
We have another case study, Benjamin's story. This video depicts young filmmaker Benjamin Rolso visited to the United Nations headquarters in New York City and his interview with UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Before the interview, Benjamin had the opportunity to explore and film the building, including the art and photo exhibits from all over the world. This video was produced for the World Autism Awareness Day on 2nd April 2016, reflects Benjamin's future and how it relates to the major global issues.
My name is Benjamin, and I am 24 years old. I was born in New York. I am a college graduate and a filmmaker. I have traveled, done volunteer work. I had internships and part-time jobs. I got an opportunity to participate in the United Nations organized 2016 World Autism Awareness Day, producing a video for the event. I visited the UN and interviewed the UN Secretary General. I am here with Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations. We talked about climate change. So why is climate change happening? And is it not too late to fix it?
That's a very good question for a young person. It is almost too late to fix. But if we take action now, it may not be too late. This world is for you to live, and your succeeding generation. That's what I'm doing as a Secretary General. And I'm very encouraged that we have adopted very ambitious Paris Climate Change Agreement.
We talked about the Sustainable Development Goals. What is the idea behind the Sustainable Development Goals?
The Sustainable Development Goals, with the 17 goals, are based on a simple idea to make all people live in a sustainable world. No one should live in abject poverty in our world. No one should go hungry in a world with plenty of food, and no one should be left behind.
And we talked about issues related to autism. Why is autism an issue for the United Nations?
This is extremely important because autism is a global issue. Some societies discriminate on or shun people with autism. This is a terrible violation of human rights. The people with autism, people with physical disabilities should be treated equal as everybody. The United Nations stands with all people with autism. We have a responsibility to promote human rights for everyone in our human family.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I wish you all the best. Thank you. Have a
You're very
great
welcome.
hope and courage.
The last topic, autism, is something I know about because I am autistic. Being autistic can be very frustrating for me at times, but I work hard and I'm good at what I love to do. Visiting the UN and talking to Secretary General Ban Ki-moon was an incredible experience for me, something that I will never forget. On the way out, I saw a sculpture from Italy by the artist Pomodoro, that means in Italian, tomato. It was a giant globe, but it was different. Parts of the outside were shining, and I could see the reflection of the people and the city around me. But parts of it looked cracked and broken and confusing. I thought the cracked part should be repaired, but inside I could see part of another globe, which reminds me of an old Universal Studio logo from the 1940s. At the end, I decided to believe there was no reason for the Golden Globe to be fixed. It's all about art. We need to protect the planet, but I think we have to be careful on how we decide what is broken and what needs to be fixed. And we have to be careful on how we decide to fix the world and people's lives as we work on the UN Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. This year's World Autism Awareness Day will reflect on the Sustainable Development Goals and how they will improve the lives of people with autism. In 2030, I will be 39 years old. I want to continue learning. I hope to have a job that gives me independence. I hope that my dreams to become a video producer and director come true. I hope to have friends, a family, and a home of my own. I hope that world leaders everywhere partner with the UN Sustainable Goals, because they are my goals too.
So that was a story of Benjamin, who was autistic. Filmmaker who had the opportunity to visit United Nations. So many such disabled or specially able children, young adults have great opportunity if they are supported and motivated. Throughout the history, the United Nations family has celebrated diversity and promoted the rights and well-being of the persons with disabilities, including learning differences and developmental disabilities. In 2008, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities entered into force, reaffirming the fundamental principle of universal human rights for all. Its purpose is to promote, protect, and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by all persons with disabilities, and to promote respect for their inherent dignity. It is a vital tool to foster an inclusive and caring society for all, and to ensure that all children and adults with autism can lead full and meaningful life. The United Nations General Assembly unanimously declared 2nd April as World Autism Awareness Day to highlight the need to help improve quality of life of those with autism so that they can lead full and meaningful lives as an integral part of the society. Autism is a lifelong neurological condition that manifests during early childhood. Irrespective of gender, race, or socioeconomic status, the term autism spectrum refers to the range of characteristics, appropriate support, accommodation, and acceptance of the neurological variation allows these on the spectrum to enjoy equal opportunity and full of effective participation in the society. Autism is mainly characterized by its unique social interactions, non-standard ways of learning, keen interest in specific subjects, inclination to routines, challenges in typical communications, and particular ways of processing sensory information. The rate of autism in all regions in the world is high, and the lack of understanding has a tremendous impact on the individuals, their families, and communities. The stigmatization and discrimination associated with the neurological differences remain substantial. Obstacles to diagnosis and therapies, an issue that must be addressed by both public policymakers in developing nations as well as donor countries. So let's look at the diagnostic criteria for the autistic spectrum disorder. The American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, 5th edition, DSM-5, provides standardized criteria to help diagnose autism spectrum disorder. To meet the criteria for autism spectrum disorder, according to DSM-5, a child must have persistent deficit in each of these 3 areas of social communication and interaction, plus at least 2 of 4 types of restricted repetitive behaviors. So 3 areas. So we look at the areas of social communication and interaction, persistent deficits in social communication and social interaction across multiple contexts as manifested by the following currently or by history, like deficits in social emotion reciprocity, ranging from abnormal social approach and failure of normal back and forth conversations to reduce sharing of interest, emotions, or affect, to failure to initiate or respond to social interactions. Deficits in nonverbal communicative behaviors used for social interaction, ranging from poorly integrated verbal and nonverbal communication to abnormalities in eye contact and body language, or deficits in understanding and use of gestures to a total lack of facial expressions and nonverbal communication. Deficits in developing, maintaining, and understanding relationships, ranging from difficulties adjusting behavior to suit various social contexts, to difficulties in sharing imaginative play or in making friends, to absence of interest in peers. So severity is based on social communication impairments and restricted repetitive patterns of the behavior. For either criteria, severity is described in 3 levels. Level 3 requires very substantial support. Level 2 requires substantial support, and level 1 requires support. So under restrictive repetitive patterns of behaviors, interest or activities as manifested by at least 2 of these following, currently or by history, stereotyped or repetitive movements, repetitive motor movements, use of objects or speech, like simple motor stereotypes, lining up of toys or flipping objects, echolalia, idiosyncratic faces, or insistence of sameness, inflexible adherence to routines, or ritualized patterns of verbal or nonverbal behavior, extreme distress at small changes, difficulties with transitions, rigid thinking patterns, greeting rituals, need to take some routine or eat same food every day. Highly restricted, fixated interests that are abnormal in intensity or focus, strong attachment or preoccupation with unusual objects, excessively circumscribed or preservative interest, hyper or hyporeactivity to sensory input or unusual interest in sensory aspects of the environment, apparent difference to pain and temperature, adverse response to specific sounds or textures, excessive smelling or touching of objects, visual fascination with lights or movements. Severity is based on social communication impairments and restricted repetitive patterns or behavior. For either criteria, severity is described in 3 levels, as same as above criteria. Level 3 requires very substantial support. Level 2 requires substantial support, and level 1 requires support. So when coming to symptoms in early development period, symptoms must be present in the early development period, but may not become fully manifest until social demands exceed limited capacities or may be masked by learned strategies in later life. Symptoms can clinically significant impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of current functioning. These disturbances are not better explained by the intellectual disability disorder or global development delay. Intellectual disability and autism spectrum disorder frequently co-occur. So there might be comorbid. To make comorbid diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder and intellectual disability, formerly known as mental retardation, social communication should be below that expected for general development level. So individuals with a well-established DSM-4 diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, Asperger's disorder, or pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified, should be given the diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. Individuals who have marked deficits in social communication, but whose symptoms do not otherwise meet criteria for autism spectrum disorder, should be evaluated for social pragmatic communication disorder. So with or without accompanying intellectual impairment, with or without accompanying language impairment associated with a known medical or genetic condition or environmental factor associated with another neurodevelopmental, mental, or behavioral disorder, with catatonia, referring to the criteria for catatonia associated with another mental disorder. Additional code 293.89, catatonia associated with autism spectrum disorder, to indicate the presence of comorbid catatonia, if comorbidity is present. So as per American Academy of Pediatrics, developmental surveillance and screening has to be taken up. Early identification of developmental disorders is critical to the well-being of the child and their families, and it is an integral function of the primary care, medical home, and an appropriate responsibility of all pediatric healthcare professionals. So AAP recommends that developmental surveillance be incorporated at every health supervision visit. Any concerns raised during the surveillance should be addressed promptly with standardized developmental screening tests. In addition, screening tests should be administered regularly at 9 to 18 months and 24 or 30-month visits. The early identification of developmental problems should lead to further developmental and medical evaluation, diagnosis, and treatment, including early developmental intervention. If a child is diagnosed with a developmental disorder, through the evaluation and diagnostic process, they should be identified as a child with special health care needs, and chronic condition management should be initiated. Identification of developmental disorder and its underlying etiology may also drive a range of treatment planning, from medical treatment of the child to genetic counseling for his or her parents. So development screening can be done by a number of professionals in the healthcare community and school settings. However, primary healthcare providers are in unique position to promote children's developmental health. Primary care providers have regular contact with children before they reach school age, that is, especially pediatricians, and are able to provide family-centered, comprehensive, coordinated care, including a more complete medical assessment when a screening indicates a child is at risk for a developmental problem. Research has found that ASD can sometimes be detected at 18 months or younger. By age 2, a diagnosis by an experienced professional can be considered very reliable. However, many children do not receive a final diagnosis until they are much older. This delay means that the children with an ASD might not get help they needed. The earlier an ASD diagnosed, the sooner treatment services can begin. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that all children be screened for developmental delays and disabilities during regular well-child doctor visits at 9 months, 18 months, and 30 months. Additional screening might be needed if a child is at high risk for developmental problems because of the preterm birth or low birth weight. In addition, all children must be screened specifically for ASD during irregular well-child doctor visits at 18 months and 24 months. Additional screening might be needed if a child is at high risk for ASD, having a sibling with an ASD, or if symptoms are present. It is important for doctors to screen all children for developmental delays but especially to monitor those who are at a higher risk for developmental problems due to preterm birth, low birth weight, or having a sibling or having a parent with an ASD. Integral routine developmental screening into practice settings can seem daunting, but there are few suggestions for integrating screening services into primary care efficiently and at low cost, while ensuring through coordination of care. Parent complete screening tool in waiting room, then moves to clinical staffs for scores, reviews, and screening tool answers. Then, if the screening is negative, concerns are addressed and provided with discussions and results and concerns with parents. If there are no concerns in spite of negative scoring, provider discusses results with parents, provides anticipatory guidance. No immediate action is required, but rescreening at a next level at well-child visit might be advised. If the screening is positive, immediate action is required, and the provider discusses results and concerns with parents and performs furthermore specific medical and developmental assessment and or refers for further assessment. So provides anticipatory guidance and then referral to appropriate early intervention services if child is not yet 3 years old, or special education program if the child is 3 years or older. Research indicates that the parents are reliable sources of information about their child's development. Evidence-based screening tools that incorporate parents' reports. For example, ages and stages questionnaire, the parents' evaluation of the development status, and child development inventories can facilitate structured communication between parents and providers to discover parent concerns, increase parent and provider observations of child's development, and increase parent awareness. Such tools also be time and cost efficient in the clinical practice settings. 1998 analysis found that depending on the instrument, the time for administrating a screening tool ranged about 2 to 15 minutes, and the cost of materials and administration, usually an average salary of $50 per hour, ranged from $1.19 to $4.60 per visit. So screening children and providing parents with anticipatory guidance, that is educating families about what to expect in their child's development and how they can promote development and benefits of monitoring development can also improve the relationship between the provider and the parent. By establishing relationship practices, promote positive parent-child relationships. By establishing relationship-based practices, provider promote positive parent-child relationships while building the strongest possible relationship between the parent and provider. Such practices are fundamental to quality services. So there are various screening tools to identify such developmental delays. Screening tools are designed to help identify children who might have developmental delays. Screening tools can be specific to a disorder, for example, autism, or an area, for example, cognitive development, language, or gross motor skills. Or they can be general, encompassing multiple areas of concern. Some screening tools are used primarily in pediatric practices, while others are used by school systems in other community settings. So screening tools do not provide an conclusive evidence of developmental delays and do not result in diagnosis. A positive screening result should be followed by a thorough assessment. Screening tools do not provide an in-depth information about an area of development. So how do we select a screening tool? We have to take the following into consideration: domains the screening tool covers, and what are the questions that needs to be answered? What types of delays or conditions do you want to detect? Psychometric properties, these affect the overall ability of the test to do what it is meant to do, like reliability, validity, specificity, and other psychometric properties. The sensitivity of a screening tool is the probability that it will correctly identify children who exhibit developmental delays or disorders. The specificity of a screening tool is the probability that it will correctly identify children who are developing normally. The characteristics of the child has to be taken into consideration while selecting the screening tool, that is age and presence of risk factor, and settings in which screening tool will be administered. So with the tool, will be the tool be used in physician office or daycare setting or community setting. Screening can be performed by professionals such as nurses or teachers or trained paraprofessionals, social workers who are medical psychiatric social workers, or even psychologists. So there are different types of developmental screening tools. So Center for Child Development does not approve or endorse any specific tools for screening purposes. The list is not exhaustive and other tests may be available. And in India, we have also autism tools that we will discuss later on. So we have ages and stages questionnaire. This is general developmental school screening tool. Parent completed questionnaire, series of 19 age specific questionnaires, screening, communication, gross motor, fine motor, problem solving, and personal adaptive skills. Results in a pass-fail score for domains. And we have communication and symbolic behavior skills. Standardized tool for screening of communication and symbolic abilities up to 24-month level. The infant toddler checklist is a one-page parent completed screening tool. Parents' evaluation of developmental status is a general development screening tool. Parent interview form screens for the developmental and behavioral problems needing further evaluation. Single response form used for all ages may be useful for a surveillance tool. And modified checklist for autism in toddlers, MCHAT, which is widely used. Parent completed questionnaire designed to identify children at risk for autism in the general population. And screening tool for autism in toddlers and young children, STAT, which is an interactive screening tool designed for children when developmental concerns are suspected. It consists of 12 activities assessing play, communication, and imitation skills, and takes 20 minutes to administer. So we have many more tools. So these are all screening tools which help us to identify and refer to further advanced diagnosis. So diagnostic tools are there where when we have detected some positive scores or positive evaluation in screening tools, we will refer to diagnostic tools. There are many tools to assess ASD in young children, but no single tool should be used as a basis for diagnosis. So diagnostic tools usually rely on two main sources of information. One is the parents or caregivers' description of their child's development, and the other is professionals' observation of the child's behavior. In some cases, the primary care provider might choose to refer the child and family to a specialist for further assessment and diagnosis. Such specialists include neurodevelopmental pediatricians, developmental behavioral pediatricians, child neurologists, genetics, and early intervention programs that provide assessment services. So we have few diagnostic tools like Autism Diagnosis Interview, revised ADAR, a clinical diagnostic instrument for assessing autism in children and adults. This instrument focuses on a behavior in three main areas: reciprocal social interaction, communication and language, and restricted and repetitive stereotyped interests and behaviors. The ADAR is appropriate for children and adults with mental ages about 18 months and above. And we have another tool, Autism Diagnostic Observation Schedule, generic, in short known as ADOS-G, a semi-structured standardized assessment of social interaction, communication play, and imaginative use of materials for individuals suspected of having ASD. The observational schedule consists of 4 30-minute modules, each designed to be administered to different individuals according to their level of expressive language. We have CARS, Childhood Autism Rating Scale, brief assessment suitable for use with the child over 2 years of age. CARS includes items drawn from 5 prominent systems for diagnosing autism. Each item covers a particular characteristic, ability, or behavior. And we have Gilliam Autistic Rating Scale, second edition, GARS, in short known as GARS-2, assists teachers, parents, and the clinicians in identifying and diagnosing autism in individuals ages 3 till age 22. It also helps estimate the severity of the child's disorder. In addition to the tools above, the American Psychiatric Association Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, 5th edition, DSM-5, provides standardized criteria to help to diagnose autism spectrum disorder. So there are certain myths. We will look at it. There are no adequate screening tools for preschoolers. This is a myth, but the fact is, although this may have been true decades ago, today sound screening measures exist. Many screening measures have sensitivities and specificities greater than 70%. Another myth is a great deal of training is needed to administer screening correctly. The fact is, training requirements are not extensive for most screening tools. Many can be administered by paraprofessionals as well, like social workers, that is medical psychiatric social workers and clinical psychologists. And screening takes a lot of time. This is another myth. Many screening instruments take less than 15 minutes to administer, and some require only about 2 to 5 minutes of professional time for scoring and analysis. And another myth, associated tools that incorporate information for parents are not valid. But the fact is, the parents' concerns are generally valid and are predictive to the developmental delays. Research has shown that the parental concerns detect 70 to 80% of the children with disabilities. In India, there is an tool developed by In India, we have Indian Scale for Assessment of Autism, known as ISA. And ISA is an objective assessment tools for persons with autism, which uses observation, clinical evaluation of behavior, testing by interaction with the subject, and also information supplemented by the parents or caregivers in order to diagnose autism. ISA consists of 40 items rated on a 5-point scale ranging from 1, never, to 5, always. The 40 items of ISA are divided under 6 domains as given below. These are domains. Domain 1, social relationship and reciprocity. Domain 2, emotional responsiveness. Domain 3, speech, language and communication. Domain 4, behavior patterns. Domain 5, sensory aspects. Domain 6, cognitive competence. That is component. So, under the domain 1, social responsibility and reciprocity, individuals with autism do not interact with other people. They remain socially unresponsive, aloof, and may have difficulty in understanding another person's feelings such as pain or sorrow. The significant problems in the use of body language and nonverbal communications, such as eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures, and establishing friendships with children of same age. Under the domain 2, emotional responsiveness, individuals with autism do not show the expected feelings in a social situation. Emotional reactions are unrelated to the situation and may show anxiety or fear, which is excessive in nature without apparent reason. They may engage in self-talk that is inappropriate for their age and may lack fear of danger. Under domain 3, speech, language, and communication, individuals with autism will have problems in speech development. They find it difficult to express their needs verbally and non-verbally, and may also have difficulty in understanding the non-verbal language of others. People with autism often have echolalia and may repeat a word, phrase, or sentence out of context. Under domain 4, behavior patterns, individuals with autism may engage in self-stimulatory behavior in the form of flapping of hands or using an object for this purpose. They insist on following routines, sameness, and may resist change. Some autistic children may be restless and exhibit aggressive behavior. Under domain 5, sensory aspects, a majority of autistic people are either hyper or hyposensitive to light, sound, smell, and other external stimulation. They may ignore objects or become obsessed by them, or they may watch those objects very intentionally or very intently or act as if they are not even there. Some autistic children explore their environment by smelling, touching, or tasting objects. Under domain 6, cognitive component, individuals with autism may lack attention and concentration. They do not respond to instructions promptly or respond after considerable delay. On the other hand, individuals with autism may also have special or unusual ability known as savant ability in some areas like reading, music, memory, and artistic abilities. So the testing time with ISA tool may take around 20 to 30 minutes. And coming to psychometric properties of the ESA tool, validity of ESA test items was determined by correlating the individual item scores with the total scores, and all the items of the scale were significantly correlated with the total scores at 0.001 level, except one item, A40, namely savant ability, which was significant at 0.5 level. So internal consistency and reliability of ESA was computed using Cronbach alpha. The alpha coefficient obtained was 0.93 for autism group, indicating high degree of internal consistency. About inter-rater reliability of ESA was obtained using Pearson product moment correlation between two rates, between two raters who independently administered and scored ESA on 67 randomly selected children. About 70% of the sample. Correlations between raters varied from 0.62 to 0.81 in different domains, which are equivalent to those found in standard tool, namely CARS. So in order to assess the retest reliability of ESA, 120 subjects, 30% of the sample from autism group were retested after 3 months. Correlations ranged from 0.60 to 0.85. In various domains, for the total score, it was 0.83. So these results indicated that retest reliability of ESA is good. And sensitivity and specificity of ESA was computed for investigating its effectiveness in discriminating autistic and non-autistic children as compared to CARS. Further, receivers operating characteristics, in short known as ROC curve analysis, was carried out to assess the discriminant power of ESA. Using these sensitivity and specificity levels at different cutoffs, the ROC analysis also confirmed the discriminant ability of ESA. Based on the ROC cutoff of score of 70, a diagnostic categorization of ESA has been established, which aids in the interpretation of total ESA scores. Under the cutoff level, individuals falling below the score of 70 are categorized as non-autistic, while those with score of 70 and above are categorized as autistic. To arrive at the taxonomy of ESA, the scores of 376 children who scored 70 and above from autism group were analyzed. The mean score was found to be 106.09, range being 70 to 181. And scores ranging from cutoff score to mean score 70 to 106 has been classified as mild autism scores. From mean to mean plus 2 standard deviation, 106 to 153 as moderate autism, and scores above mean plus 2 standard deviation, that is 153 and above, as severe autism. So based on the ESA scores, less than 70, normal, and 70 to 106, mild autism, and 107 to 153, moderate autism, and above 153, severe autism. And based on the percentage of disability, as per the score, 70, 40%, 71 to 88%, 50%, and 89 to 105%, 60%, 106 to 123, 70%, 124 to 140, 80% of disability, 141 to 158, 90%, above 158 score in ESA, the percentage of disability is 100%. So Indian Scale for Identification of Autism, ESA, is a standardized tool with good psychometric properties, and it is reliable and valid tool for making diagnosis of persons with autism. So CDC statistics also revealed that autism spectrum disorder is 4.3 times more prevalent in boys than in girls. This is because girls often go undiagnosed because they don't fit autism stereotypes and they mask symptoms better than boys do, according to the Child Mind Institute. And there is no better way to bring awareness on this day than by becoming aware of the characteristics of people with the condition and how all of us can do better to increase our own understanding and promote kindness. Going by the stats, 1 in 59, the number of children diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder in 2018, and 1 in 34, the number of boys diagnosed with ASD in 2016, according to the data collected by CDC. 1 in 145, the number of girls diagnosed with ASD in 2016, according to the data collected by CDC. And 1 in 45, the number of girls diagnosed with ASD in 2016, according to the data collected by CDC. And after age 4, which most of the children are diagnosed with ASD, and 31% of children with an intellectual disability are due to autism spectrum disorders. And the 2 to 18% of the chances of parents having a second child with ASD after the first child is diagnosed with as ASD child. And 36 to 95% of chances that if one child has autism in a pair of twins, the other will also be affected as well. And half of the total number of children with autism typically wander or bolt from a safe setting if something catches their interest. So 28% of the children with ASD who have self-harm behavior, and 2/3 of the total number of children with autism face severe bullying. So these are the facts if we go by statistics. So as I already mentioned, autism is not diagnosed until the age of 2 years, and only a specialist like psychologist, psychiatrist, neurologist, or a trained medical psychiatric social worker can do the screening and further can refer for the further diagnosis. But there are some things to look for, as we have discussed, like lack of sharing, sound, smiles, and facial expressions by 9 months, or forming words by 16 months, can set a red flag. It can be a struggle in the first months to accept the condition, but the best way is to deal with the diagnosis, to educate yourself and search for the people of a specialist like psychologist, psychiatrist, neurologist, or medical psychiatric social worker. And there can be a lot of resources and treatments that can help you. And it is estimated that the cost of caring for these services required, including the diet for autism, can be $196 billion per year for adults and $66 billion per year for children. So it's a very expensive disorder. And today, it is widely prevalent across the world. And people with autism disorders can help to make a change in this world. All this need to be a successful is treatment and support for their environment. Just take people like Tim Burton, Charles Darwin, Bill Gates, and Albert Einstein as an example. They all are with some sort of disorders, but they have excelled. And many of these have no cure, but there are treatments. There are many ways to treat autism spectrum disorders, but they can only be reached when a person is diagnosed. So becoming aware, we can help others to get in touch with specialists and start a treatment that can increase their wellness. So don't try to change the children or adults with autism spectrum disorders. Start by understanding. People with autism spectrum disorders have specific characteristics, behaviors, tastes, and the ways they do things. The key is to understand their way to see the world and their performance without trying to make them change. Once you get diagnosed, it's a condition for the rest of your life. And research demonstrates that the job activities that encourage independence can increase daily skills and reduce autism's specific symptoms. So today is commemorated as Nature Day in Iran. It is known as Sizda Bidar in Persian language. Normal years, it falls on 2nd, and in leap years, it falls on April 1st. So in Iranian culture, it is celebrated on the 13th day of Farvardin, that is the first month of the Iranian calendar, to mark the end of Nowruz celebrations, and is generally described as a day for Iranians to relax and have fun in their individual choices of open spaces. Today is also commemorated as National Ferret Day. In US, to spread awareness, dispel misgivings, and educate people about taking care of the domesticated ferret. An intelligent, loyal, and faithful companion, the ferret is frequently misunderstood as a nuisance because of its mischievous nature. Ferret lovers and American Ferret Association help the public understand more about these funny creatures. A ferret is a furry creature with razor-sharp teeth belonging to the weasel or Mustelidae family. Known to live up to 10 years, ferrets can have different hair colors, brown, black, white, or even mixed hues. The word ferret is borrowed from a Latin phrase for little thief, which aptly describes the animal's penchant for extracting or ferreting things out. Human beings domesticating these animals over 2,500 years ago as a substitute for the European polecats. Landowners utilized its capabilities to kill vermin, pests, and rodents, which could ruin or run riot in their fields. The cunning and wily ferret sniffs out pests and brings them out from their hiding places. Because of their mischievous nature and attention-seeking habits, people have misgivings about ferrets. At times, they produce a musky odor, which some people may find repulsive. So due to these attributes, some districts in the United States, including California and Hawaii, has banned keeping them as pets. The American Ferret Association recognized April 2nd as National Ferret Day to dispel some myths surrounding domesticated ferrets. Although This day has been officially celebrated since 2014. It was instituted well before it by Carol Roach, a New York citizen fascinated by her pet ferret. You can watch a documentary, Ferret Town. The wild counterpart of this pet ferret, the black-footed ferret, was considered extinct in the 1980s when an accidental discovery of a small population in the Wyoming Ranch triggered conservation efforts. Watch the incredible story of the black-footed ferret's resurgence from near So a family or a group of ferrets is called a business due to their sociable nature. Ferrets sleep up to 18 hours daily and are most active at dusk and dawn. Hunters used ferrets for hunting rabbits in the 1600s. Ferrets can be trained to use litter boxes, run through pipes, cross mazes, and run obstacle courses. Ferrets have been part of research for development of vaccines. Like other furry creatures, ferrets love attention and reciprocate with affections. The ferret war dance can bring a smile to anyone's lips. The myth that ferrets are troublesome and a nuisance is not entirely correct. If trained properly, they can become a faithful companion. Even human beings, if not trained, can cause a serious harm to entire population. Similarly, any pets like ferrets, if trained, they can be very funny and intelligent animals. Ferrets enjoy going through mazes and pipes over obstacles. Playing with them is fun and can be therapeutic too. We need to appreciate the ferret's ability to be fun companions to play with. There are a lot of misgivings and myths attached to ferrets which have made people dislike them. There is a widely held belief that they cannot be domesticated. A pet ferret can be as affectionate as a companion as dog when appropriately trained. Their loving respond to attention. Today is also commemorated as National Do-It-Yourself Day, in short known as DIY. It is often abbreviated as DIY, do it yourself. So these include building, decorating, fixing, and renovating to encourage fellow crafters and spark creative interest of people of all ages, genders across the nation. Today is commemorated as International Fact-Checking Day. It is all about setting the record straight and protecting the general public from the misinformation or fake news. Fact checkers help to protect reputation of a publication through the verification of facts and prevention of misinformation or journalistic fraud. This can help reduce lawsuits and cases of defamation, which errors in reportage may lead to. Hence, it's evident that the fact checker plays quite a key role here too. In a world where news comes from all kinds of social media sources, ranging from Twitter to Reddit to Instagram or Facebook, information and media can very easily be manipulated to misguide or sway public opinions. In some ways, then, fact checkers are the superheroes of today, doing all the public service. The first official observation of International Fact-Checking Day was on April 2nd, 2017. However, the concept of having such a day was first conceived in 2014 at a conference for journalists and professional fact-checkers at the London School of Economics. The discussion was born out of recognition of the danger that political misinformation posed, particularly on social media sites, which are consumed by masses daily. In 2016, during the US elections, fake news wreaked havoc and brought this issue into spotlight again, which is why the observance was officially created in 2016, though celebrated a year later. It is officially promoted as International Fact-Checking Network, IFCN, which partners with various media organizations worldwide. The significance of the date, April 2nd, is also noteworthy because it falls on the day after April Fool's Day, cleverly pointing to be the binary of fools versus fact. On this day, many different kinds of media organizations rally around and add to the growing pool of resources that can equip people to check facts and provide tips and lessons to students and the public on the ways to identify and stop spread of misinformation or fake news. Factually speaking, fact-checking as a thing belongs to the recent past and has been in existence for less than 100 years. It has roots in the era of American yellow journalism, where truth took the backseat to sensationalism when it came to the headlines, all for the sake of profit. Initially dominated by women and considered a feminine job, fact-checking began to gain legitimacy as a career with the establishment of Time magazine in 1920s. With the explosion of fake news on social media sites, now it has doubled in importance. It is important to be aware of how influential what one reads in the news can be. Fact-checking ensures that we all take responsibility for what we consume and what we choose to believe and what we choose to share to root out corruption and potentially harmful propaganda. Fact-checking professionals need the help and collaboration of the public because the web is so wide and there are just so many ways that information is disseminated these days. The more critical and skeptical individuals become of the information they consume, the better it would be to stem the spread of corrupted information. Today is also commemorated as International Children's Book Day and also as International Children's Pictures Book Day. So books provide kids with sense of escapism from their mundane realities or their difficult circumstances and allow them to discover stories on their own terms in a language they can understand. And this day was celebrated since April 2nd, 1967, which is also known as birthday of Hans Christian Andersen, a Danish author famous for his fairy tales that included The Ugly Duckling, The Little Merry Maid, and Thumbelina. Fairy tales are inspired by European folklore and include characters like dwarfs, elves, fairies, giants, gnomes, goblins, mermaids, and talking animals. In most cultures, there is no clear distinction between myth and folklore or fairy tale. All of these together comprise of children's books. Though fairy tales are the most predominant form of narrative escapism given to kids, some books teach them a bit more about life through clever stories and tools, like we have Panchatantra. Today, it is also commemorated as Geologist Day in Russia. So Earth is over 4.5 billion years old, and it is constantly ever changing, always moving. So geology is a science that studies the materials, natural features, and processes found on Earth. It also studies the history of all life that ever lived from the time of the dinosaurs till date. The first Geologist Day was established by scientists in the former Soviet Union in April 1996. Geology witnessed several leaps in the early 1900s with a theory called continental drift by Alfred Wegener. The scientist suggested that all continents were once a supercontinent called Pangaea. Over millions of years, Pangaea broke into different pieces that drifted away from each other, taking their positions as we now know them. Today, the theory has been replaced by the science of plate tectonics instead. Eminent Soviet geologists established Geologist Day in April 1996, which crossed the borders of former Soviet Union. Today, we thank them for all their incredible research to deepen our understanding of how the world works. We hope it inspires the next generation of super geologists in the making. This week is also commemorated as Explore Your Career Options Week. We have a number of career options. So this is an opportunity to explore more opportunities. So with this, we shall also conclude for the day. So any queries? Yeah, what is the right time stage to determine the autism among children? By Dr. D. Srinivas Reddy. So it can, we cannot determine as such. See, unless and until the child reaches 6 years of age, we cannot, determine, because the child is developing. Until the child reaches 6 years of age, we cannot label the child in the very first place, because that can cause more harm. But we can use screening tools and we can observe the child carefully, but we should not be in a hurry to label the child. So we can do screening. We can do observation till the age of, nowadays, because of over enthusiasm of parents, nowadays children are being screened at the age of 6 months also. But that is a very sad reality. But as already mentioned by American Pediatric Association and Indian Pediatric Association and various other pediatric associations, so the parents or the caregivers can observe for the symptoms of autism, which we have seen today. You can explore more. And if there are any symptoms, because we have milestones, developmental milestones, we have VST and various other tools where we can measure, milestones of the child. If there are any delays in milestones, or if you see these 3 domains like social interaction, the child is not responding, reciprocating to emotions through non-verbal, because the child at such an young age cannot have verbal abilities other than cooing, babbling, and other, verbal capabilities. So it would be, 6 months would be a very short time. So maybe 1.5 years, 2 years would be the minimum age. But if there are any red flags, that means if we are seeing any symptoms, then it's always good to see a developmental pediatrician. Those can help you to screen the baby. We do not diagnose baby, we can screen the baby, because baby is still developing. Until the child reaches 6 years, there is a lot of scope for development. But if there are any red flags, we can always visit the pediatrician and he will be able to guide us. So hope it have answered your query. Yes, Mary ma'am, do you have any query?
And sir, these autistic children are left for education in National Open School also.
Yeah, there are a lot of schemes I am not discussing because we have already exceeded today's time. Generally,
No, sir, my ma'am's child is done master degree in the National Open School, sir, in Bangalore.
Master's degree is not there, Nama, in open school, National Open School.
She's actually that madam told her that degree is equal to master degree. What that girl has done. She's teaching in one private school also, little half a day, half a day.
No, they can do it. National Open School has only up to 12th class. And there is a, DED is there, elementary education is there. But
That madam told her it's equal to, my daughter is done equal to master degree. That's why I don't know, sir. But she said me.
maybe some we have some lack of information. Maybe there is some gap between the information. You can just find it, because that's national open schooling is for people. Anyone can join for that matter. And not only in national open school, but even in regular schools also, they have been given exemption. So based on their assessment, that's why we have discussed about ESA tool, which was developed in India. So we can, based on the ESA scores, and we can also get the disability certificate, and based on that, we will have certain exemptions.
And
So-
they are very good at singing also, sir.
Yeah,
I saw in one Chennai program, sir, that girl is reached the Airtel super singer also. The autistic style. She's her name is Kamini.
yes, ma'am. Basically, they are very good at anything they are interested.
That
So
two things I saw,
need
sir.
to encourage them. See, they're artists, especially autistic children or adults. We need to observe them, and they like certain things. So if we encourage them in that, they can excel like anything.
And that girl is got that first also, sir, in that competition. All over world, that program is going. That girl is.
That's
autistic.
nice to hear. That's what, we have seen few case studies now. They are very good. I mean, they have complete focus on what they are doing. They are very much specific. They are very particular. They are in establishing patterns, and in, making things, they want as it is. And they establish routine like anything. That helps them to excel in whatever they take it up. So what we need to do is just support them. Whatever they like swimming, you encourage swimming. They like painting, encourage painting. They like singing, encourage them. That's all. Whatever they are interested in, forget about other things. Whatever they are interested in, encourage them, and you can see wonders.
Actually, the parents told her in that interview that my doctor told your child is singing means leave it will go to greater level. That's why that girl is they learned classical singing, and she participated in the all world competitions are Airtel Super Singer.
Nice, man. So that's
Now
what,
the girl is 12 years, sir.
Oh, nice. See, that's why we have to encourage whatever they are doing, not only for autism, for that matter, because, even in normal population also, for that matter, wherever your interest lies, focus on that so that you can achieve in them. So especially for autistic children or adults, because they are more focused, more interested, and they are very careful about what they are doing. They are very systematic, and they establish a routine so they can excel in that. That's why, to promoting them, whatever they are interested in, do not try to change them. Of course, we can also train them, but whatever they have natural instinct towards any hobby, any profession or vocation, it's always better to advise, encourage them, promote them in that, so that they can excel in that.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you for the opportunity, sir.
Thank you. So friends, quickly fill up the feedback form for today's session. And we have sent a reminder mail to all the participants and presenters today. Hope everyone might have received. And certificate is ready. The day certificate template is ready. So only thing is we are cleaning the data. So in that we found many did not complete formalities. So maybe next 2 days, certificates will be issued. Those who have completed, those who have not completed formalities, quickly complete the formalities so that you can start receiving. Today we are testing that with some data. So hopefully if that is working fine. Lot of data is there. Data cleaning is required because people do not follow the instructions carefully, and that's why a lot of rework is required. So we are trying it today. We'll give it to system and see how many certificates it can generate. It depends on number of people following it meticulously, the given format, and rest of that. Tomorrow we'll see based on who all are missed, then they might have skipped the formalities or they need to complete the formalities or maybe manual intervention is required. We'll see and we'll process it. Maybe in the next 2-3 days, we'll be receiving certificates for the conference and even webinar series also. After the conference certificates are issued, then we will also issue these remaining webinar series certificates as well. So register for today's, those who have joined directly, those who have not registered for today's webinar series. We request everyone to register daily before joining or at the time sessions are happening or after the sessions have completed. Make sure you are registering for daily because daily we will be getting different certificates. So thank you once again, everyone, for joining us. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night.